Adam was breathing heavy. He hadn't been on the road in a while and was feeling it. His muscles burned as he climbed the hill. It was rough, and his growling stomach wasn't helping. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, I want to look at what sort of physique would adventurers have and what sort of diet would they need. We have all seen it. A party of adventurers rushing forward. The barbarian is a mountain of muscle. Even his muscles have muscles. Beside him, a slender rogue darting about, his daggers flashing. At the back, you have a scrawny wizard who looks like he could barely lift his staff. But he does, and responds with incredible magic. Yet how true are these builds? Generally, there are 4 major body types. Fat to obese, the scrawny and slender build, the absolutely jacked, and lastly, the average build. So which is most likely to happen? Well, let's look at what adventurers do. They leave their town, hike across the country, over hills and mountains, swim lakes and rivers, climb up cliff sides, fight and more fighting, and of course, lots of running. They will definitely have strong legs, that is guaranteed. So no, a morbidly obese adventurer isn't going to happen. Most likely, they'll be dead. And a dead adventurer doesn't do anyone any good. Now does it? But don't sumo wrestlers fit this body type? And yes, but they aren't sprinting for days on end. Their matches are quick bursts of speed and power where weight can help hold you in place. Generally, you have 2 types of fat, brown and white. When you think fat, it is the white fat which is used to store energy for later uses. Brown fat is used more to protect your internal organs and helps with heat generation and retention. Interestingly enough, the sumo wrestler diet and routine results in an above average amount of brown fat, but still not the best for adventurers, I think. Nor with the frail and very scrawny types. Adventurers are going to be carrying their gear, heavy packs with food, clothes, maybe tents, cookware, and of course their weapons. And again, they are very active. That means they would be building up their muscles constantly, assuming no sort of disease or advanced age. And I'll touch on that later. So what about the musclehead, the bodybuilder-sized warrior wielding a boulder on a stick? Is that feasible? Well, yes and no. We do see such bodies with superhero movies and Olympic-level athletes. But there are a few caveats. First off, you probably wouldn't see their abs. For most superhero movies and bodybuilder competitions, there is always a shot of a guy being completely ripped in full detail of his abs and every muscle. To get to the point to actually see your abs, it means that your percent body fat is 10% for men and 5% for women. The problem is, at that point, the brown fat, which is used to protect your internal organs, is also very low. To achieve this look, most actors will be heavily dehydrated. They will increase the amount of water they drink for a few weeks to get their body to adjust to it, and then drop to very little for a few days. This isn't healthy, unfortunately, and puts strain on the kidneys. Now, Michael Phelps is one of the highest medal-earning athletes in history. To reach his level, he had a 12,000 calorie diet, 4 times what the recommended average person eats each day. On a hard day's hike, you might climb up to 6,000 calories, but that is rare. Phelps' diet included whole pizzas, large amounts of pasta, several omelets, multiple egg sandwiches with breakfast, ham sandwiches for lunch, in addition to vegetables daily. Oh, and that isn't counting coffee, energy drinks, protein drinks, and other supplements. Throw in eating grilled chicken breast for snacks, and that is the issue. Do you know how much all that food would weigh? A lot. You can't carry that. What's the old hiking motto? Ounces become pounds? You can't carry all that. Nor would you have time to eat like that. For adventurers, food often comes down to what you can forage and hunt for yourself. If you can't do that, you'll go hungry. You can bring rations, nuts, dried fruit, and jerky, some forms of bread, but those will run out. And how long will you be on the road? There is a good chance that you would lose weight on the road, and we should avoid that. So, you need to have a way to store up nutrients. And this may sound like a contradiction, but you'll want to put on some weight. So what about carb loading? We do see this in Phelps' diet. There are plenty of carbs in pasta and sandwiches, isn't it? Well, that is good for a day, but we are looking at weeks on the road. It will lose its benefit. But you still want to have the fat reserves. And this is where we need to look at the legendary gladiators, also called barley eaters by Pliny the Elder. Their heavy diet of legumes and barley was meant to put on layers of fat to help protect against cuts and impacts. How effective it would be for an adventurer to use, I'm not sure, but as the source of energy and nutrients on the long march, good. This means more of a heavyweight build, high muscle but some fat, but not obese. That should work for the heavy warriors, barbarians, paladins, and other tanks. However, what about the speed fighters, or rogues? Now you have 3 muscle types: fast twitch, slow twitch, and a hybrid. Naturally, you'll have all 3, but your body will favor one usually. This is from genetics and environmental factors. Fast twitch is for short burst anaerobic activity, while the slow twitch are longer activities and aerobic. I'll get into this more when I do the workouts. Rogues generally use daggers. The size of the blade doesn't actually have as much of an impact on the depth of the cut as you would think. It is more of aiming it and making contact and maneuverability. Just think about how easy it is to cut yourself with a knife while making dinner. Yeah, you don't need a huge amount of strength. So a rogue can get away with a slighter build than your frontliners, but they still need to carry equipment, food, and so on. So they'll still want to have some size to them. And we can assume the same for the wizards. Someone has to carry their pack, right? Haul themselves up a mountain? Lastly is the old man, an old adventurer which has persisted. You can maintain muscle mass and fitness level into old age with exercise, but eventually you will start to losing it. Now, what sort of workout would adventurers need while resting in town? Ideally, you would do all the different types of workouts, but these are the ones which I feel have the best effect. Well, let's start with the base, their legs. They can't skip leg day. Adventurers will have long periods of walking, followed by short bursts of action, which hopefully doesn't turn into sprinting for your life. This means a mixture of endurance with strength and explosive power, or everything. So, you'll want to do weights, cardio, and sprints. But we can narrow it down. For sprints, you'll want to do high-intensity interval training. Think 30 seconds going and 30-second rests with repeats. And more focused on explosive movements. Battles are fast, you need to dodge attacks, and sprint to get closer to your foe. You are constantly moving. This means plyometrics being ideal. Jumps and other dynamic movements being perfect here. As for endurance, it means running. Running with weights on is useful, but it puts your body's natural mechanics off, so I would not recommend it, unless you have a professional trainer there with you. Now, adventurers rarely perform isolated movements, but you want to include them to a limit, but need to go beyond them. They are moving their arms at the same time as their legs, and need their core constantly. So rather than a simple squat, look more towards things like burpees. Exercises which combine multiple muscle groups going through their full range of motion. So overall, we are looking at something similar to CrossFit. This will also be important in fighting. Think about swinging a sword. You're going to switch between different muscle groups with each swing, and your core needs to support you when blocking or in the bind. Yes, you really need to do the full body workouts. Though, I do want to add, work on single limb exercises when doing your legs. Often, while moving about in a fight, your weight isn't always even, so it is only one leg which is making you move. It is also important for your balance. Now, we need to factor in how magic would influence your workouts. And first up is one of the strongest schools of magic, healing. Getting muscles to grow comes from increasing the number of muscle fibers. healing magic would shorten your recovery time to 0. But here is the issue with it. How does healing magic work? Does it return the body to the original state? Or does it rely on the body's natural healing? If it is the first, then no, you will not gain the same benefit from working out if you keep healing. But if it is the second option, then it would help speed up your workouts. Work out, heal up, work out again, and repeat. Of course, this doesn't address the energy in your muscles, but that could come from another spell. Yet, what if you could increase your strength via magic? It is pretty common. You have enchanted armor, which gives you +1 or more to strength, and other stats. Now, let's assume your base strength is 10. Would adding more strength from your armor raise how much you could lift? In concept, yes. But if you can get the strength from an enchantment or a buff spell, do you need the strength yourself? I would think so still. I'll need to do a full discussion on how buffs work someday. Oddly enough, this means diseases like Duchenne's muscular dystrophy might be easily treated with an amulet of strength and some healing potions. Most likely, if it is the first kind of healing, but the second could work. But a mixture of healing potions and a strength potion could easily be a medicine for it. It might make a good topic for another video on magical medicine. Of course, if you rely on magic for your strength, you would be screwed if you are debuffed, or in an anti-magic zone. That would be a quick way to die. Stay prepared. We also need to look at if they can create a potion of food to provide the nutrients an adventurer would need. I mean, it would basically be a magical protein drink and supplement, wouldn't it? Overall, I would say that magic would definitely help adventurers with their strength, but adventurers would still benefit from being fit, and they would definitely need to work out. Adam sprinted and rested, and sprinted again. He needed the strength again, and the speed. He was sweating, but it was good, and he'd be back there shortly. The level of fitness of adventurers would be important, and definitely would influence their diet and preparations before they set out. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for how different elements would do damage. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.